welcome back to Trevor May Baseball Channel and my new series, Baseball, 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 where we talk about things that are in the news in the baseball world, or things I wish were in the news in the baseball world. Please like and subscribe because it would mean a lot to me. I enjoy doing these videos. I hope you enjoy them as well, and that is pretty much your only way to tell me. Today, we have a very interesting subject, one that has been a point of contention for a very long time between the new school baseball and the old heads, the old timers, the traditionalists, on whether or not celebrating should be allowed in the game. What's okay to do? What isn't? And lately, it's getting pretty heated out there. So let me catch you up real quick. Let's use a prime example from the MLB that kind of demonstrates this conversation to a T. In 2015, a massive home run was hit by Joey Bautista in the ALDS. Sam Dyson threw a sinker in. Joey Bautista takes it deep and does the iconic over the right shoulder bat flip that then sparks all kinds of negative feelings on the other side of the field in that other clubhouse. Turns into kind of a feud for the next couple years, culminating in the Rougned Odor haymaker that we all remember seeing. Now, fast forward to 2023, and a new rule is in college baseball where excessive celebration and taunting can be punishable by an ejection from the game. Baseball is not like soccer. There's no yellow cards. There's no like small thing you can do to take somebody out of a game and then have them enter it later. There's only ejections. You're either playing or you're not playing. That's just going to be the punishment for any new rule that is seen as egregious. So keep that in mind as we move forward. Last year, in an April game between the Florida Gators and the Georgia Bulldogs, in the 8th inning, pitcher Brandon Neely gets a strikeout to end the inning. I believe the bases were loaded, or it was a huge, huge moment to preserve a 2-run lead. Understandably, he's jazzed as hell, and he throws in the flex and yells. Unfortunately, he yelled kind of towards the other dugout. What does he get for being that clutch? We'll see ya. Hit the showers, bud. You're done. The next half of the inning, UF star hits a grand slam to effectively put the game out of reach for the Georgia Bulldogs. And his celebration, hilariously, is an anti-celebration. He sprints around the bases, he acknowledges nobody, and he walks straight into the dugout, and he is subsequently not ejected from the game. It kind of turned into kind of a funny thing at the end of the day, more than a point of contention in any real way. So then that brings us to this year. This rule is still in play, and it's rearing its ugly head once again. So a few days ago, in a game between Grand Canyon and Nebraska, Grand Canyon is trailing the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They're down by 4 runs, 8-4 in the 5th inning. A guy named Tyler Wilson comes up, hits a grand slam to tie the game at 8 in the 5th, keeping the team alive, and understandably is celebrating pretty much the whole way around the bases. How do you think he is rewarded? As he crosses home plate, the home plate umpire says, "Hey, great hit. You don't get to play anymore." Hitting a grand slam when you're down by 4 runs, I can't think of a bigger moment. However, because of the video, you can't really see where he's looking or if he's yelling at other players. And that is going to be kind of where this conversation starts to get heated. Where are we pointing our celebrations at? And then those two situations weren't enough. Recently, a Hawaii player draws a huge walk to load the bases in the bottom of the ninth, down by a run, 2 outs, 3-2 pitch, takes it up and in, celebrates the walk. He turns his body, which is towards first base. The opposing dugout happens to be on the first base side, yells some stuff. I don't know if there was any expletives. We don't know what they said, but he kind of tosses the bat a little bit towards their dugout. We'll see you later. Tossed out immediately. And understandably, everyone loses their goddamn mind. Now, I don't even know how that game ended because this is all we're talking about right now. The question that comes to mind is, what is too much? What is bad sportsmanship, and how do we police it if? And I think that most people are on this train now because historically, players handle it themselves. You pimp something, you get a fastball up and in, or hit. Right? We handle it with the tools that we have in our disposal. If we all are going to agree that that is not worth it because injuries can happen, then what can we do? And the NCAA is trying to do some rules. What is the goal here? What is fun versus what is taunting, or whether or not taunting is even good? We got to remember that tension in sport is fun. It's one of the big reasons that we have competition, that tension between both sides trying to achieve the same thing is literally the point. So celebrating creates more tension. It creates more feeling around the game, and that inherently is a good thing, especially in the major leagues now that the pitch clock is seemingly going to get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter until we're not even catching the ball anymore. We're just catching with our bare hand and we're throwing it again. That's not allowing for any tension between pitches. We're not allowing any ABs to kind of develop. So this might be one way to get that dose of tension and make it more exciting while also shortening games. Just spitballing here. But there tends to be a few camps in this argument. There are people out there that think that taunting is fine, getting this close to their face and yelling, "You suck," is part of competing. Like, no, you don't need to do that. If you feel the need to do that, there might be something else going on. I don't see the need. I don't think that needs to be an inherent part of things because, again, like, there's no line at this point. Like, now we don't have any sort of standard, so like it's unclear on what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. But then there's the other camps that say none of that should be available. You shouldn't even be able to clap or be excited or all. You should just act like you've been there, act like it's expected, and that, in my opinion, is also not any fun. Like, it's not fun for the player, and then there's no tension, so it's not fun for the people watching. So if it's not fun for the player or anyone watching, why are we doing it? So it's probably somewhere in between those two things. So I'm going to attempt, maybe offer some guidelines and then see what you guys think. I don't know if you noticed, but earlier when I was explaining the situations, I made sure I added the detail of where the celebration was directed. Are you directing it at the other team or are you directing it towards your team? Here's the difference. One can be considered taunting and the other one isn't, because if you're celebrating with your teammates, hell yeah, let it go. Let it eat. Go crazy. As a pitcher myself, if you hit a huge homer, or even like not a huge homer, you did it early in the game and you celebrated with your boys, I just don't care. Like, I just don't. If you're not looking at me, you're like, you suck. If you're not trying to step up to me, because this is testosterone we're talking about. Dudes being dudes. If that's what's happening, I got no problem tipping the cap. Yeah, I might have my pride hurt. That is kind of what the point. You should have your pride hurt. You got beat. That is the feeling you should have. But then if it's taken to another level where you are personally going after me, it feels like it's transcending the game itself, that's when it gets very unclear and people get emotional and irrational. And that's what it says in the rule. The rule literally says no taunting towards another player or the other team's dugout. It's pretty clear. Now, in these situations we just covered, are all three of them directed at another player? The big strikeout, he did direct that towards the other team, right? He did. However, the trigger was pretty quickly pulled there. The same thing that happened with the pitch clock in the MLB last year in spring training. A lot of quick triggers as an overcorrection. New rule goes out. Umpires are making sure that they are enforcing it to the maximum, and then they find some nice middle ground where there's times where it needs to be like really strictly enforced, and there's times where you can be a little bit more lax because it's just not as big of a deal. And because the rule is early, I think that umpires are just like, the first thing they see, they're just like drooling, like, oh, I dare you, I'll toss you. The same way they were like watching the clock, like, better throw it. You better, oh, almost got you. So you got to know that some of that is in there, and sometimes it's getting overblown by the people making the call. The perceived intent is as good of a line to draw as any. I know everyone's not going to agree with this, but why not that be the line? Because it allows for celebration, but it also gives a little bit of context in what can be considered over-celebrating, especially in college baseball. These guys are 18 years old, man. They're still kids, right? Like, they're still learning about how to handle themselves. Enforcing some of these things is kind of still important because they're developing as people to some level. I'm not saying tamp it all the way down, but I'm saying allow the vast majority of it. And let's save our ejections for the most egregious of these situations. So let's look at them. And let's start with the Joey Bats homer. I think the Joey Bats bat flip was perfect. I think it was exactly how things should be handled. I think it was epic. I think it was exciting as hell. But I also think it was pointed not at the other team. It was pointed outward towards the fans, and then later towards his team. If anything, he could have probably showed a little bit more emotion running around the bases. Unfortunately, tempers flared. It was a big game. It was also how the game kind of built up to that point. There was a bunch of errors in that inning, but the bat flip itself, love it. Love that. Give me more. Give me more of that. The celebration from the Florida pitcher, huge part of the game. Was he turned towards the other dugout? Yes. I think that's a coin flip. I think that an ejection, in order to set an example, he's probably not going to pitch the next inning. He's probably not going to play anymore. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying, if you're going to do it, that's a better time to do it. Now, the grand slam later in the Grand Canyon game, again, I can't see where he's yelling. If he's yelling at every single guy around the bases in their face and he like cartwheels in at home or like stops and then points at their dugout and they're yelling kind of stuff, things that might preempt a brawl, because that's what they're trying to avoid at the end of the day. They want to avoid two teams entering the field of play and then getting into an altercation. They want to avoid that. That is what this is for. If you're trying to do that, that might be objectionable. Again, flip that coin. If that's what was going on, if that's the context, you could go either way with it. You could let it stand or you could not let it stand and just hope that a brawl doesn't happen. But the walk, it's a walk. Also, there's one more out left. Like, leave the kid alone. Give him a warning. Tell him to get to first or something. Give him a like, hey, don't do that. That's possible. If you need to, he's right there walking. He's still right in front of you. If you see a guy do that, just remind him and we're good. Why? And again, overcorrection, probably. So, celebrate. Live it up. Let the kids play. And guys, if you feel the need to just taunt a dude just because you don't like him, we're no longer about the competition. We now are having a personal conflict. When things drift into the personal conflict that might incite a brawl, which they're trying to avoid, the same way we're trying to avoid hitting guys on purpose, people don't like that anymore. Like, that's how it was handled. It's not how it's handled anymore. Get over it. Get over it. Things are changing. They don't want guys to fight as much. But if they're not going to fight, which is a form of entertainment and a form of tension, then you got to let them create tension in other ways, which I think letting that emotion out as a person who loves to emote, really leaning into that was a release and made the game so much more fun than it was before, because I was tamping that stuff down because I thought it was bad. It isn't bad. Having emotion when you play sports is not bad. Just food for thought. I don't know, man. I just work here on the internet now. But I am interested in what you guys think, because that's why I do these videos. So let me know down in the comments. But first word I want you to use is shortbread. Then let me know what you guys think. One way or the other, where's that line? What do you want to see more of? And what do you want to see less of? And do you think this thing is being handled the right way, or if it needs adjusting? And I'm sure the comments will be civil and complimentary of the people that you do not agree with. Anyway, that's it. I'll see you guys next time on the channel. Like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. Bye-bye.